All right. Joel Gausten here from joelgausten.com. I already know what this one's going to be like. Um, for this video,
I
fuck.
couldn't find the right spot to do the interview, so I took off to outer space.
This is going to be classic. Watch this be the video I get like 100,000 views on, you know?
Ah, you damn right. I'm your
Anyway,
man.
throwing formality out the window, let me welcome from my home state of New Jersey, Tommy Koprowski. Tommy, welcome. How's it going, man?
Good. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Can't complain. And if I did, nobody would listen to me anyway. So,
Right.
but yeah, man,
You know why you talk to yourself?
why is that?
Because nobody else is listening. You get the right answers that way.
Right. Yeah. And the conversation's usually better, honestly. Um, but we got a lot to talk about, my friend. Got a lot of history, which I'm really excited about because I'm a Jersey guy and grew up with a lot of the bands that we're going to be discussing, and there's a lot of things I don't know. So I'm really looking forward to getting some information from my own music nerd knowledge. But let's take it all the way back, and we'll get into all the bands you played in as we move forward. But um, how long have you been playing guitar now, Tommy?
How what?
How long have you been playing guitar?
Started when I was 16. So let's see. I'm 60 now. You do the math.
44 years?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Never got any better.
Well,
That's true. And I only got a little bit of schooling on that. And then I just did it myself. And I never pursued the intricacies of it. I just enjoyed it for what it was.
what led you to kind of pursue guitar to begin with?
My sister's record, she had a Dentures record called Wild Things.
Mm.
I was 5 years old, and the sound on that record did it for me. Still, my favorite band, the Dentures.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I know you have some stuff you've been doing musically kind of along those lines, which we'll get into in a little bit. But um, was the East Paterson Boys Choir your first band out of the gate playing guitar?
Nope. In high school, I had a band called the Executives. We did one show in our gym, and we blew the hippie band's PA up, caught on fire. That was the end of that. It was a good start.
What kind of music was that you were playing at the time?
We covered punk, Dead Boys, Pistols, Thunders,
Mm.
shit like that.
So, punk was obviously already happening because you were inspired by those bands and playing that stuff. Um, but that said, you came up, with guys, for example, in Adrenaline OD. And of course, guys like Steve Zing and that, the greater Misfits crew. So when you were first starting out playing in this executives band, who was around at that time in Jersey as far as punk rock?
Northern Jersey, hardly anybody. And that's how East Paterson Boys Choir started. It was me, Jack, Bruce, and this jock, Nicky Baris. He was the only kid we knew who played drums. So, and we got Paulie from the Aquarian, placed an ad,
Mm.
and he answered it. And we started that, which is interesting because that band, had I known then, was important. All these other bands came out of that band.
Right, right.
Didn't know it back then. We were just fucking around.
How long did that band last?
Not long. None of the bands we had way back then really lasted long. They started branching out.
Right. So if I have my history correct, it was sort of not too long after that band sort of ground to a halt that you connected with Steve Zing. Actually, I
Yep.
think it was through those guys, right, that you initially met him?
Yeah, from uh, Davey Schwartzman. I think it was in Tinkerbell's basement in Clifton. Steve still doesn't remember how he got there, and I met him down there, and we jammed a little, and he asked me to join. I said, "Hell yeah," because I love the Misfits like he does.
Mhm.
Big Misfits head back then. You know, you're talking 1980, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm bad with dates.
would have been. And I know during your time of Mourning Noise, you guys actually did a lot of things in a couple of years. I know you guys were playing around a lot. Obviously there's CBGBs, everybody knows that. I think you guys played A7 too, right? Or
Yep.
so those are kind of like the New York clubs everybody still knows. Um, what was happening in Jersey? Because was that the days of like the Dirt Club and places like
Yeah. We played the dirt, played oh God, what's that place in Dover?
the show place?
Show place. Yeah. Uh Connections was later on.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't do many shows. Oh, we did a couple with the Undead Network in Long Island, I remember.
Right. I have a flyer for that show actually. I don't
Really. I have I'm terrible remembering all that stuff, bro. It really taxes my brain.
Well, what do you remember as far as the shows themselves? Because this was kind of the age of hardcore, right? And Mourning Noise was a heavier band, but I would never classify them as hardcore. How do you
Right.
guys went over in those days playing, some of those ground floor early 80s shows?
Joe, there were 5 people in the audience back then. We didn't go over anyway. Nobody came but a couple of friends. Nobody was there. It didn't take off yet. So we were playing to nobody. Didn't care.
Do you think it took off at some point while you were in the band, or do you think that came later with the whole sort of horror punk resurgence that kind of started in the late 80s and is carried on now?
Who the hell knows? I was in Bedlam by then,
Right.
and I was on a crazy train ride, if you want to call it that. It's a world apart from Mourning Noise.
Oh yeah, stylistically and every other possible way, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
While you were still with Morning Noise, of course, and it's been released a couple of different ways over the years. You guys recorded on Pat Duncan's show on WFMU, and I know you had your own sort of connection with Pat Duncan. How did that whole thing with FMU and you and Pat kind of kick off?
Through Steve Zane. He took me down there, introduced me to Pat, and we hit it off. And Pat said, I'm paraphrasing, I'm sure, because I remember I had access to the Bedlam PA.
Mhm.
I would go in my work clothes, still in my painting clothes, uh, drive down to Union, practice with Bedlam, and then load the PA in the car and drive to East Orange and set up for his show. I did that for a few years. Got some great recordings too.
Well, who were some of the bands that you still remember kind of coming through the show in those days?
Agnostic Front, Ed Gein's Car, Sand in the Face, Stats, AOD,
Mm.
all those bands, all the Jersey bands. Mental Abuse, I think I remember. I think. Uh, you name it. Everybody was on Pat. You know that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know that
You,
a few times.
Pat used to let Deathrage come in and just play whatever they wanted. Whatever you want to do. We just improvised the whole set. That was cool. There's recordings of that too.
Now we're gonna jump around. I'm not gonna keep this linear. You mentioned Deathrage, and in the 90s, I picked up a split. Was it a 6-inch record, 5-inch record? It was a tiny record that Armin put out on Headache.
Yeah,
And it was a split with The Burnt, which was his
yeah,
band before the Wretched Ones, and Deathrage doing a song Murdering the Brady Bunch, right?
yeah.
Um,
Classic.
and I'm listening to this, I'm like, what the fuck is this, you know?
Correct.
So let's hit on Deathrage, what was this, deal with that band and how long did that sort of
In a nutshell, Death Rage was an improvisational trio. Me, Jack, and Bruce.
from
We'd
AO?
have guests, yeah, from AOD. Uh, I was always on the bass, but Jack and Bruce would trade off between drums and guitar. We used to rehearse at a place called SCS Studios in Fairlawn on Route 4. You remember it?
I know the
You,
area.
okay. Uh, and they had a little, I guess it was like a 2-track recorder. So I would set up, I'd space mic things, and we'd get tapes off the board. What we would do is uh, Bruce would come in with lyrics. I'd come in with a bass riff, or Jack or anybody, and we'd press record and play it. And that was it, first take. And that's pretty much like how songs like Murder in the Brady Bunch came about. It's just a one riff. It doesn't deviate to all these different parts. It's almost like a dirge. The bass was put through a fuzz box, and Bruce and Jack would trade off, and we'd come up with all this crazy shit. Incidentally, I think 139 Records is putting out some of this stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah. Jack sent me a message. He's like, yeah, we're thinking about putting out some Deathrage. I'm like, let's do it,
Wow.
man. I still don't think the world's ready for it.
Well, I want to hear it, man. I don't know what that says about me, but I want to hear it.
It means you're a good egg.
I try my best, my friend. So, Mourning Noise did recording when you were in the band. You did the 7-inch. Bobby Steele guested on it, play some guitar effects. Um, I want to talk about kind of songwriting in Mourning Noise. That's something I really didn't get too deep in with Steve when I did a video interview with him. You had great players in the band. You had Steve, yourself, Chris, you
Yeah.
know, and John on second guitar in a couple different points. Um, who generally came up, with this what would become the Mourning Noise song and the sounds? Was it always collaborative, or was there one or two people kind of steering
It
that?
was Mike and Steve. Predominantly, yeah, Mike and Steve. I was brought in after John went to the Navy or something,
Mhm.
and they already had the songs. So I just had to learn them. And I brought in Progress for the People, which was an East Paterson Boys Choir song. And Sergio. Sergio's nothing but a ripoff of the commercial, Sergio Valente
Mhm.
commercial. Remember the Gene commercial? I used to sit in front of the TV practicing and watching cartoons and shit, and I figure out what I was watching. So we changed the words around a little, like Sergio making cash with his name on your ass, shit like that. Goofy. Joe, see, I come from northern Jersey, where we're more humorous
Mhm.
than any other part of the state. Your South Jersey, I don't know. To me, they just didn't have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Well, I
and
mean,
that's why a lot of people fucking shit on us. Oh, you guys are joke bands, joke bands. Yeah, like to have a good time. The fuck's wrong with that?
nothing, nothing. I mean, look, I love the Misfits, right? But for a bunch of guys who dressed like that, and they took themselves a little too seriously sometimes, let's be honest.
when we used to practice in Steve's bedroom in Lodi, Rosemary's Babies would always come to visit us. One time they came and they were like, oh, Metallica's down the street at the Misfits garage. You want to go meet them? I'm like, nah. And they go another time, oh, the Misfits are looking for a guitar player. Tommy, you would be perfect. I go, no fucking way am I joining that band. And these are my favorites.
Yeah.
I'm not touching them. Not.
I have a sneaking suspicion you may not have gelled well with certain people.
Correct.
I mean, just a wild stab.
Yeah, you think?
So, Mourning Noise, you have a couple years with those guys. And we'll get back to Mourning Noise a little later. But from there, you end up joining Bedlam, which is one of my favorite Jersey bands.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You know that. I've told you that before.
I didn't know that. Most people hated us.
No, I loved you guys. I loved you guys. I found the Total Bedlam album 30 something years ago, maybe longer, before I knew you, which is good because if I knew you, I would never have listened to the record. I would have said, fuck that guy. There you go. But I got the record and I loved it, man. It blew my mind. And that's kind of the gateway for me into learning about Buy Our Records, which was the label you were on. And, a couple people from Bedlam were involved in that. The AOD guys were a part of that label. And there's a whole history there. That label did a ton of great records. AOD, you guys, Raging Slab, great. Yep. PMS.
Yep.
Fantastic band from that time period.
Electric Love Muffin. Who else? I think we did a Bodies in Panic one too. Yeah, I don't remember.
And I think you did Children in Adult Jail too.
Oh yeah,
which is Diane's band from FMU.
Yeah. Fishing for Compliments is still one of the best songs ever.
Yeah, and she's great, and she still,
she fucking hates me.
Yeah. Well, she knows
me. Hates me.
Huh? She knows you. That's fine.
Yeah, that's why she hates me. I think it's because one time I farted in a mic live on FMU.
I'm not going to say anything.
Careful, I'll fart here.
But Bedlam, great band. I think there were, 2 albums with Bedlam, right? Total Bedlam.
Yeah, well, the second one was an EP, really, 12-inch EP.
Yeah.
So ran out of steam. We were too burnt by then.
A little bit of a, well, not a little bit, a lot of a different style than Mourning Noise. As you said earlier, Bedlam was a little more, it was a heavier band, in my opinion, a little more hardcore, let's call it, and definitely a lot more humorous, kind of along the lines of like what AOD and, that scene was doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
And shittier. I love shitty punk. I say it a million times through life. The shittier, the better.
That's a great motto. That should be on the back of a t-shirt somewhere when you merchandise Bedlam.
Just reissued that stuff on Beer City.
Yeah, let me get to that. My filter might blur this out a little bit, but here's it's not. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
It's called Final Bedlam. Beer City put it out. Let me see if I can get, that's a little bit. Apologies.
That's funny. The artist who came up with that cover didn't know who Scott was. And that guy on the cover looks just like our first drummer, Scott.
Scott Frank, the late Scott Frank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does actually. That's too funny. So
there's only one song missing from that reissue, and I'm pissed about it.
What was,
you know which one?
What was left?
AIDS.
Yes, you're right.
Lenny didn't have the balls to put it on.
You're right. Yeah.
They would never cut it in this day and age. I said, that's all the reason more.
Right.
We didn't care back then.
Isn't it funny how we seem to be regressing where 40 years ago it was okay, but now somehow it's not? I don't know. I don't know if that's progress or regression, to be honest with you. But in any event, that's probably a different conversation for another time. But so the
Yeah,
reissue came out in 2021. It's got pretty much everything. Some live
and unreleased tracks.
right. And my favorite track on the
Don't
compilation.
say it.
I'm gonna say it. The compilation ends with you getting kicked out of the band. There's a recording of you being fired from Bedlam, which is, a classic track for all the right reasons.
Put it on.
Really it? Was that
I
really
said to
it?
Lenny, I said, Lenny, you sure you want to put this on? He goes, absolutely. I go, okay, I don't care. And that's how it ended.
That's how it ended. Literally captured on tape. Fantastic.
I'm proud of that. Hey, you're
And
making me laugh today. What's going on here?
hey, I'm trying. So fast forwarding a little bit, I remember, and I missed it, unfortunately, but there was a show, I want to say it was like 2014 at the Court Tavern under the name Tommy Koprowski's Bedlam. And I
Yeah,
think I think Pleased Youth played and maybe Memphis.
not cyanamide.
Right, right,
Oh
right.
yeah, and I think Pleased Youth. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that was my retirement show. I was I got bad arthritis and carpal tunnel, and it really hurts to play. So I said, that's it. Packing it up, going fishing. All these could fuck off. See you later. But to say goodbye, I did Tommy Koprowski's Bedlam. I got 13 different singers from 13 different New Jersey punk bands to each do a Bedlam song. Doug Viscom said, that's a tough one to pull off. Who's laughing now? Went over really well.
Well, I know a couple of those singers were you got Jim from Bedlam, the singer. He came up and
Did
sang
I? I don't.
Jackson.
I don't remember. But I think the coup de grace was getting Danny from Cyanamid to sing Buddy Fucker. That was my favorite. I got Danny from Cyanamid.
Another Jersey history lesson there with that band for sure.
One of my favorite Jersey bands, and one of my favorite people, Danny.
That's great. And we should mention, because one of the singers that night, because I've seen photos of it, was one of the former guitarists of Bedlam, Rhino, Stephen. I know he performed that night. And Stephen passed away, I think, right before the compilation came out, because I know he wrote some liner notes for it. And there's a nice photo collage of him as the insert to that record. Never met the man in person, but I gotta tell you, he sent me a friend request on Facebook a few years back, and he seemed like such a nice, fun guy. And we have a lot of interaction, saved for posterity on Facebook, and I'm grateful for that. But I see your smile, as I gotta ask you, tell me a little bit about Rhino, man, because I'd love to hear a bit about who he was and
Well, let's see. You don't want to share a bed with him when you're on tour, and you don't want to go in the bathroom after he's been eating White Castle after him. Had a head like a rhino. That's why we called him Rhino. Huge man, soft spoken. What was he? Cribbage? He played cribbage or some shit like that. Tournaments and all that stuff. Where the fuck this guy come from? Went to Frisco once to hang with his sister for a summer. Ate nothing but rice-a-roni and smoked sensibilia. Came back, lost his mind. Was never the same. And he was just a riot. Riot to be with. I mean, look at the songs. His songwriting is what drew me into Bedlam. He was playing these chord progressions that I never heard before. Things that broke the mold, didn't make sense. And it drew me in. because I like that. Like Unemployment Club and Military Attitude. I was like, oh, wow. Usually it's a, A, D to E, the nice, safe 3-chord progression. Now, he drop it down and fuck you up. Hits you right here and it goes right through here. And I love the lyrics. Lenny's lyrics are scathing, nasty, brutal. Loved it. So I joined.
Yeah, I remember the first time I put that first record on a turntable. I'm like, Buddy Fucker? Who writes a song called Buddy Fucker?
The
This is
lyrics in that give me chills.
well,
And when Bedlam rolled into town, when we got out of the van, it looked like something out of Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
so I take it Bedlam was another band that didn't go over at the time, right? Or were you guys, did people get it at that point, or was it like,
Some did.
yeah,
It's the same today. It's like, even with me, I'll be driving and I'll say, oh, let's put on the Bedlam record. Dude, I would hate it. I'd go, this is the worst shit I ever heard in my life. The next day, I put it on again. Listen to it. I go, this is fucking brilliant masterpiece. So we're that kind of band. You either love us or hate us, or on this particular day, you could like it. Even I was in the band and I hate it sometimes, So I can't listen to it today. Like Steve says, I don't have the bandwidth for it today. Don't bring him up.
no.
Thank you.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Mourning Noise for, probably the second half of this, but I can't mention your drummer. No problem. That's going to be an easy interview. Thank you, Tommy. Um, and we should mention that Rhino was also in the band Hearse, who were awesome too.
Yeah.
Came a few years later. I still have, some of that stuff here. Decent band for more than a decent band. That was kind of when
They
I
had
was,
a cool groove.
yeah, that's when I was kind of like beginning to hit clubs in Jersey and seeing bands was when Hearse was, doing their thing. So, so rest in peace to the guy, and it's great that the record's out and there's a nice tribute to him in there and people can listen to what you guys put down way back when, even now. So,
All hail King Rhino.
yes.
He was a king.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, he pops up in my Facebook memories all the time as, it's good to
He
see him.
sang all Peter's saying at my show, the Tommy Koprowski's Bedlam that night. Everybody loved it. 600 pounds of Rhino walking through the crowd. Au revoir, be saved. Can't beat it.
Before we jump back into Mourning Noise, because there's more to that story, there were a couple of other bands I wanted to mention. I know you've been a part of, and one in particular I don't know anything about. So you gotta tell me, who were the Fartheads?
Okay, same people. Me, Bruce, Jack, Dave was drummer, and that was the quintessential joke band. The Fartheads would take all classic old songs like Little Brown Jug, Sonny and Cher's The Beat Goes On. But we would change the lyrics. Instead of The Beat Goes On, it'd be The Farts Blow On. And we'd come up with farting lyrics for all the songs. We'd do them that way. That's why we're called the Fartheads. Fartheads rule. And I got some fucking recordings of those guys too. I got to send you shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Laugh your ass off.
I love to hear what adult men, in some cases with families, do in their spare time.
Well, wait a minute. We were still young. We were in our 20s.
Okay. I'll let it slide. All right. Yeah, I'd love to hear that stuff. That's got to be amazing, truly.
I'll hook you up.
Cool. And then some of the same characters you end up playing with again in a band called SUX, SUX.
Yeah.
And SUX, you may remember this, SUX played my 30th birthday party at Dingbats. Remember that? Like
Was
in,
I there?
yeah, I think so. 2007, Dingbats.
That's when I was in SUX.
Yeah, you guys were on the bill.
I told you, I can't remember shit, bro. So
Well,
again, the SUX, me, Paul, uh, Jack, and Greg,
right.
the same guys.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, it's always there's that, I don't know, brotherhood, whatever you want to call it. Can't get away from each other.
Well, they all have the patience of Job to have known you this long and done stuff with you this long.
I got fired from every band I was ever in, sometimes twice. SUX and Mental Decay. Mourning Noise was the only band I ever quit.
I'll have to send you the flyer for that show I'm talking about. This goes back, well, I'm 46 now, so 16 years. But I assure you, you guys played, and we had a flyer for Bruce Campbell from Day That Did Dawn of the Dead, something. It's
Evil
a
Dead.
horror movie. Yeah. And I didn't do the flyer, but the flyer is cool. I'll have to dig it up and send it to you. Um, and you mentioned Mental Decay. I didn't know you played a Mental Decay until you mentioned it a few days before we got together for this.
Everybody's played in Mental Decay.
Right.
Everybody. I joined because Jack quit or something, and we'd all called me. So I said, "Oh yeah, what the hell, you know?" So we did a show and slayed him. And then Jack said, "Oh, I want back in." So then we had like 3 guitars. Oh no, we had 2 guitars, and then we got Scully, who's a really good guitar player. He came in. We had 3 guitars at one point, just like SUX. We had 3 guitars. That was brutal.
So
That was powerful.
was that 90s at that
I
point? Or
think so, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Who was that guy in Mental Decay who was really, really good?
John Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Is he still alive?
I don't know. I was gonna ask you the same question.
If he is, he's probably hurting.
Hmm. Well, he was and hopefully still is, great musician. He had that band with Trance from Sacred Denial, Johnny and the Has-Beens.
Yep.
And
I got some of their stuff on a CD somewhere in the basement.
yeah, that record was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, there was a lot of talent. A lot of goofing around, but there was a lot of talent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Sometimes you have to be very together to sound untogether. You know what I mean? Like you kind
Yeah.
of know what you're doing to sound like you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to work at SCS, Sacred Denial used to come in there to rehearse.
Hmm.
Dude, I'm telling you, my jaw would drop when I'd go into their studio and watch. I'd be like, holy shit, amazing. They never got their due.
No. Well, Trance in general never did. I mean, a lot of us who came up in the 90s knew him as the promoter for the Pipeline. But musically, that guy was fantastic. I mean,
Oh,
that later stuff he did with John Steele and Josh Silverman and John, I mean, killer.
fucking heroin, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. That story never goes away, unfortunately.
Yeah, man.
But let's fast forward to 97 because that's when I had the misfortune of meeting you for the first time. Uh, because I was 19 at the time, I was booking a VFW hall or an American Legion hall. I
Franklin.
I call Mr. Steve Zing, he who cannot be named, Sam Hain reference, haha, and said, "Will you guys play my Legion Hall with Mourning Noise?" And he did it. He called all you guys, and you guys played my Legion Hall in 97. And I think that had been the first time you guys had played in what, 15
Since
years? Something
uh,
like that. 15 years?
I don't know, because when I left, John came back. Or no, Pete Marshall took over for me. So I lost track of the band.
Right.
I don't know when they officially bagged it. I was off doing other shit, you know?
Right, right, right. And if Pete Marshall, Damien ended up in Sam Hain.
Yeah. There it is. See, you see how it's all
Yeah, that's how it is.
unity, connected, some one way or another. That's pretty interesting.
And then, all these years later, in 2021, Cleopatra puts out the big Mourning Noise compilation. They do the gatefold vinyl, the CD. So Mourning Noise starts playing shows again, and you've been at it. You've done a few shows at this point from that initial reformation point, and you do have a new singer, Robbie Bloodshed.
Most talented man on the planet.
Well, and I had heard of him for years because he started off as a young kid, kind of
Very
putting
young.
out records and going to shows and stuff like that. How did he connect with Mourning Noise?
Okay, so all right, so Steve calls me up. He says, because I had texted him. I said, everybody's up my ass. Everybody wants a reissue. Just put it out for fuck's sake and get them off my back. He's like, no, year after year. And then he calls me up. He goes, all right, we're going to do the reissue. Cleopatra's putting it out. And we'll get back together and do some shows and shit. I said, no, absolutely not. Carpal tunnel, arthritis, it hurts. I said, I ain't doing it. He says, just come to my house and sign the contract. So I drove over there, and I hadn't seen him in years. I gave him a hug and said, how you doing? He's like, great, come on inside. He breaks out the contract. I sign it. And I say, okay, have a nice life. See you later. Bye-bye. Going fishing. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. He goes, wait. Come in my basement. I want to show you something. And he takes me downstairs and he shows me a studio.
Mm.
Dude, my fucking jaw dropped. I was like, this is yours? He's like, yeah, man. And he says, you want to hear some of the stuff I do? And he played me some Black 29. I was like, holy shit, this is really good. And he turns to me and he goes, you still want out? I go, nah, I'm in. And that's how we got back together. What was the question?
Robbie. How did Robbie get involved?
Oh, yeah. So we tried to get the singer back, but he couldn't do it for some reasons. So I started putting the word out on social media. Anybody want to audition, hit me up. And Robbie hits me up. I go, who are you? He's like, I'm Robbie Bloodshed. I go, who? He's like, I got like 10 albums under my belt and this and that. I'm like, how old are you? I'm 23. I'm like, who the fuck are you? So I meet him at Smacktone Studios over here in West Paterson. And the kid knew all the words to the songs, breaks out a guitar, fucking smokes it. I go, who the fuck are you again? Robbie Bloodshed. I said, he goes, did I pass the audition? I said, dude, you're too good. I said, you're too good for us. Like, so I told Steve, I said, Steve, this kid's a lock. Do not let him go. And Steve goes, oh, I know him. He used to come to all the Sam Hain reunions and dancing shows. His father used to bring him. His father's a fucking character. I love his father. He's fucking great. Makes me laugh. And then he just gives, and I'm telling you, 1,000% to everything he does. If that's humanly possible, he does it.
Yeah.
He plays every instrument under the sun, writes lyrics, records. He's got his own studio too. Does artwork, makes posters, buttons, flyers, shirts, can book shows, all of it in one kid. Yeah. 25 years old.
Yeah, he was working it years ago, and he still does it. It's fantastic.
When I heard him sing, I'm like, holy shit. What are you, Freddie Mercury? He's like, oh, he's my biggest influence. I go, yeah. So that was a great score for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And from that point, you guys did a new EP at the Seville. Um, I know there's a full-length album on the way. We're
Dude, just got the masters the other day and it sounds incredible.
awesome. All new material, right?
All new.
Great, great. I'm excited,
And,
man. I love the
and
old.
this is the irony of my life. I'm ending up with the band I pretty much started with. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I've come full circle. And I quit playing 15 years ago. You can't make this shit up. Go from quitting to reforming the band to opening up for the fucking Misfits at the Prudential. Come on. Come on.
I was gonna get there, man. I mean, you're playing a fucking arena 40 years later.
60-year-old man. Still doing it.
I mean, I hate to throw a lazy journalist question at you, like, what was that like? But what was that like?
What the fuck do you think it was like? It was awesome. Yeah, you know, Jerry was coming up the ramp and I stopped him when he was coming in. We were loading in. And I told him about the times I met him and shit like that. And then within an hour, we're walking through the corridors of the Prudential, and Jerry Only's going, "Hey, Tommy, how you doing?" across the hall. I'm going, "You talking to me?" So Jerry Only's my buddy now, huh?
Yeah, right
And
on.
Franche Coma, too. Franche's my buddy. We bust each other's balls all the time. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I see him around. I know he comes to see your the show that Steve puts on every Black Friday there at
Yeah.
Dingbats. Sure, I know I've seen him there. It's amazing that that whole sort of Lodi scene in one way or another is still as active now as it was back then, if not more active these days.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that mystique, that allure, all that shit. You got people making pilgrimages in buses to go look at Glenn's fucking childhood house.
Or
I've
go
never
to
seen
Lodi,
it.
or go to Lodi Pizza.
Yeah, or Cardi's. Cardi's closed, but I was never even at Cardi's. I was the Polak from East Paterson. I was the outsider who
Right.
liked that same shit as those fucking Ginzos in Lodi. You know what? Oh, shit. I'm in trouble. I couldn't last long, Joe.
Hey, I said nothing. I said nothing. You're gonna
I'm
bury
allowed to say it. I'm senile.
That's all right.
Can't
Well,
cancel me. I'm crazy.
well, we joke around, but the nucleus of Mourning Noise has been you, Steve, and Chris, really. And we're talking 40 plus years. Chris and Steve even longer, as they had Implosion before Mourning Noise.
Yeah.
Um, all kidding aside, what makes it work? I mean, what makes the three of you able to do this now?
Me.
You're the glue. You're the one that keeps
I'm the
it
glue.
together?
I'm the glue. Steve always says you get the same Tommy every time. There's no variation in mood, anything like that.
Oh, wait,
I'm
this
always
is a good thing? He's saying this in a positive way?
I don't know. Yeah, he loves me. Fuck him. No. I remember when I joined them, I said, my God, they're good musicians, man. And you ever hear Chris drum? Chris taught Steve.
Really?
Yeah, he's a great drummer. We used to do Venture songs to warm up in Steve's bedroom. That cloaked black fucking dungeon of death. Everything in his bedroom was black. Everything. I'm not kidding you. Ceilings, walls, windows, bed sheets, pillowcases, drum set, stereo, everything was blacked out. The first time I walked in there, I thought he was going to fucking kill me and bury me under his bed.
All the furniture is pushed against the wall, yeah. One of those scenes.
And we cranked. God bless his mom. She was the best.
Well, it seems like, the Mourning Noise is going to have a great future. You've got the album out, you've got a great front man, the
Yeah.
material is strong. And what I like about Mourning Noise is the fact that, you didn't just reform and play the old, 22 song list from 1983 or whatever it was. You're doing new material. Actually, your set last time I saw you in November was 95% new songs.
Yeah.
So you're not
Yep.
relying on your past at all. I respect the hell.
Onward.
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't mention the Dentures because I know you mentioned the Ventures in the beginning. So we got to talk about the Dentures, and you're doing your own surf music, right?
Yeah. Uh, Again, I love the Ventures. They're my favorite band. And fuck singers. Who needs singers? They're nothing but fucking problems sometimes. You know what I mean? Let the guitars do the talking. Clean it up. I bought myself a Hallmark guitar, which is like a beefier Mosrite, like the Ventures used. And I bought a Fender Twin and cleaned up the sound. And again, me, Jack, Paul in the band. Who else are you going to get? We know each other. We know each other's likes, dislikes. You send them these CDs here. These are the Venture songs. Learn them. Boom, boom, boom. And all right, come on, let's do it. We had a couple shows. But then the Mourning Noise thing came around and I had to put that on the back burner.
Right.
But it sounded sweet, man. Me playing a clean guitar. Go figure.
So you mentioned you were having some issues with your hands when Mourning Noise reformed. How are things working for you at the moment?
I got the surgery, but like the doctor said, he says if you keep pounding your guitar, I play the guitar like it owes me money.
Right.
I beat it. My attack is strong. It's all downstroking, and I angle the pick so I get a better click when I hit the strings. That's why I break a lot of strings. I'm angry when I play. I like that. It's a release, you know. It hurts like hell, but it hurts less than getting reamed out by Steve after the set saying you sucked. Because I don't want to hear it. I really don't.
It's interesting, watching it and knowing you guys because you've got Steve, who, one of the greatest people on planet Earth. I mean, obviously, but he's very focused, very serious. He's everything matters, and you need somebody who's like that in a band. And then we've got you, and you're a goddamn mess. And then Robbie, Robbie's the young star. But then you've got Chris, who's like mellow, quiet, somehow is in the middle of this
It
maelstrom.
works.
Yeah.
It works. We're always telling Chris to shut up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But let me ask you a question because I have always had an infatuation with the 80s Jersey bands because I wasn't there. I was born in 77. So the earliest I was able to like start reading about people was like 87, 88. And then I didn't start going to shows till 89, 90. So I missed a lot of it. It doesn't necessarily even have to be punk or hardcore, but as far as New Jersey musicians, who do you think are some of the great unsung heroes of Jersey music from the 80s?
Well, I mean, AOD, but they're not unsung. They're the darlings of Jersey punk. That's a tough one, bro. How am I going to answer that? I find, you know, being a guitar player, you look for other guitar players' uniqueness and stuff that you wish you created yourself. Like Cyanamid. I know a lot of people will say they're noise, but they're an orchestrated noise, and I love them playing. What's his name? I forget his name. Did on it. It's brilliant, brilliant. But for the most part, I can't answer that. I don't look that deep into shit. Me. The answer is me.
The unsung hero of Jersey punk, Tommy Koprowski.
Yeah.
You're not too far off, man, because I'll tell you the truth. I know we break balls and that's fine. And, one thing I will say is when I interviewed Steve for this channel, I told him I usually can't stand 15 minutes with you. And
Yeah.
we're almost at an hour. So I want to thank myself for hanging in there.
Hey, I told you I was going to be good.
You've been okay. You've been good. Yeah. It's been almost tolerable. Um, let me be serious for a minute. Honestly, without Bedlam and Mourning Noise, I would not be the punk fan I am now.
Cool.
I mean, those being from New Jersey and seeing bands from Jersey doing this music when I was a young kid, like finding the records, impacted me so much, and like I said, it's really nice to see there's a Bedlam compilation, relatively new. There's new Mourning Noise, it gives me hope because I know, now I know when I'm 60, I'm gonna do what the hell I want to do too. You know what I mean?
Jersey always got shit on by all the other states. We were dissed. Like, it's crap. Nothing good comes out of Jersey. Fuck you. A lot of good comes out of Jersey. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're not fucking skinheads. You know what I mean? Because we got a sense of humor. Wah! Everything sucks. Wah! Yeah, we know everything sucks. We're gonna joke around though, have a little fun.
Right.
We're such a hard ass.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
just
no, you're right. You're right. I mean, there's a Jersey, no bullshit. The world is on fire all the time. But as AOD said, well, let's barbecue. Let's have fun. Armin from the Retro Ones made an entire career of singing about beer and work. That's New
going
Jersey.
down the bar.
Yep. And where would the world be without going down the bar? You know what I mean?
Fucking nowhere in my book because I was always there. Anthem.
Yes, yes, that should be the New Jersey state anthem. Fuck Springsteen.
The Wretched Ones are the working man's fucking band.
Yeah,
They speak volumes to me.
yeah, yeah, always
This
did.
place is huge. I'm just doing my job. I fucking love that shit.
Right. So lack of pretense in Jersey for the most part,
Yeah.
So, I always appreciate the fact that's where I grew up, and that's the music scene I grew up in because you learn not to take yourself too seriously, that we're all just getting on with it, and I lived in LA for a bunch of years, totally different scene.
Yeah.
Everybody loves you, but they hate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least in New
They're
Jersey.
phonies.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go have lunch means I'll never talk to you again.
You're not going to get phoniness from us Jersey guys. Shoot
No,
from the hip,
absolutely.
especially me.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to have you on to ruin my YouTube channel. So
I love that. That's an accolade for me. You know that.
yeah, right on. And no, seriously, man, I wanted to have you on and I appreciate your history. Always love the records, always love the music you're involved in. I'll put the links up to people, so people can find Morning Noise on Facebook and all that jazz. And any idea when the record's going to be out for Morning Noise? I'd imagine
I'm
some
guessing April.
really that soon.
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. Any shows you can talk about at
I
this?
can't right now discuss that at liberty,
Okay,
but Steve's working on some great ones.
cool. Well, I'm sure I will hear from Mr. Zhang when the time is right. And you'll definitely be seeing me there in the audience for sure.
Thank you.
Tommy, it's almost been a pleasure.
It has. Fuck you.
Thanks for coming on, man.
All right. Later, brother.
Take it easy.